I have hunted this object for half of my years. You cannot possibly imagine what I have endured in my pursuit. The original was unmistakable, ethereal. It seemed to have a light shining from within, like no metal I have seen before or since. I peered into it, and I saw the turn of the world and a glimpse of what lies beyond. Hello, and welcome to Visions of the Past, an Assassin's Creed lore podcast. My name is Andrew, and I'm glad to see that you have found this podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the group of artifacts that was being talked about when Nikolai Orlov gave us this quote on the Imperial Scepter, the Staffs of Eden. Some of you might know the Staffs of Eden as the Staves of Eden, but for the purpose of uniformity, I will be referring to them as staffs from here on out, as the only difference between the two are only the regions in which the words are used. With that off the top, you will find the Staffs of Eden in Assassin's Creed 2 and its novel, Assassin's Creed Renaissance, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and its novel of the same name, Assassin's Creed Origins and the comics Assassin's Creed The Fall, The Chain, and Brahmin, and it is also mentioned within Assassin's Creed Chronicles India. So, now we know where to find them. What exactly are the Staffs of Eden? For the most part, these pieces of Eden are the embodiment of sovereignty and dominion, allowing the user to control a vast number of people, usually resulting in the user becoming the head of a state or the head of a major institution. Most of the known staffs are designed to control the minds and bodies of people. Some even went as far as to have a spot for an apple of Eden, allowing for the enhancement of each's powers. Usually, the end was sharpened, allowing for use as a spear in combat. We know of 4 different Staffs of Eden: the Papal Staff, the Imperial Staff, the Staff of Alexander, and the Staff of Hermes Trismegistus. There are also some users who used unknown Staffs of Eden, but we'll talk about those after we discuss the known staffs. The first staff that we saw in the series was the Papal Staff. This staff's history is unknown until it passed into the hands of St. Peter, the apostle of Jesus and the first Catholic pope. It is assumed that this staff stayed with the Catholic popes until Rodrigo Borgia, though the argument could be made that rulers of the Roman Empire could have taken it, with it coming back to the Holy See before Rodrigo's rise to power as Pope Alexander VI in 1492. The goal of Rodrigo's rise to power was so that he could use the Papal Staff to gain access to the Vatican Vault. On December 28, 1499, Ezio Auditore da Firenze would infiltrate the 16th Chapel with the intent to assassinate Rodrigo Borgia. Ezio would end up getting into a fight, though, where Rodrigo would use the staff to hide his presence and to levitate Ezio, though it is unknown if this is what the staff really did or if it just manipulated what we saw. After Rodrigo took an apple of Eden from Ezio and placed it in the cradle on top of the staff, he would attempt to use the combination to open the Vatican Vault. Rodrigo would fail at this and get into a fistfight with Ezio that he would lose. Ezio, on the other hand, would be able to use the combination of staff and apple to open the Vatican Vault. Within the vault, Ezio would fulfill the part of the prophet from Altair's Codex, though when Ezio exited the vault, he would be able to take the apple from the staff, but the staff itself would descend beneath the floor at the entrance to the vault. This is the last known location of the staff, but there is always a chance that it is no longer beneath the entrance to the vault. The next staff that was seen in the series is the Imperial Scepter. We don't know when or how, but this staff was in the possession of Alexander III of Russia in 1888. He would use it to maintain the power of his monarchy within the Russian Empire. On October 28, 1888, while riding the imperial train to St. Petersburg, Tsar Alexander was attacked by the Russian assassin Nikolai Orlov. After the train derailed and the Tsar made sure his family was safe, he would retrieve the staff from the wreckage and give it to Nikolai, telling him that not only was he weak, he had absolutely no idea what he was doing there. After letting Nikolai use the staff, Alexander would proceed to beat him badly in a fistfight, allowing for him to keep his life for the only reason that he didn't want his family to see him kill the assassin. After Tsar Alexander's death in 1894, the staff would pass to his son Nicholas. Unfortunately for the newly crowned Tsar, sometime before 1908, Gregory Rasputin would replace it with a replica and ship the real staff to Tunguska to be experimented on by Russian Templars. In the summer of 1908, a team of assassins led by Nikolai Orlov infiltrated a Wardenclyffe tower where the staff was being experimented on. Nikola Tesla would remotely use his tower in New York to send a signal that would end up producing what we know as the Tunguska explosion, one of the largest explosions in recorded history, with an estimated force of more than 30 megatons of TNT that ended up flattening more than 2,000 kilometers of forest. Just before the explosion, Nikolai would come in contact with the scepter, where he would receive numerous visions from it, and because of the scepter, would be the only survivor of the explosion. And he would make it back to his wife Anna, believing the imperial scepter to be totally lost. In 1917, Nikolai found this to be untrue, and that a shard of the scepter was used by Gregory Rasputin to manipulate the imperial family, but he took that shard to his grave. After finding out about this, Nikolai would exhume the body of Rasputin and find a shard of the staff around his neck. It is unknown if Nikolai would give this shard to his wife Anna, or if he gave it directly to his daughter Nadia, but it would be in Nadia's possession in 2002. The next staff we would find out about is known as Alexander's staff. There is nothing known about this staff before it came into the possession of the Macedonian king, Alexander the Great. Alexander would use this staff, along with the Trident of Eden, to go undefeated in battle and create one of the largest empires in the ancient world. After Alexander's death at the hands of Etani, he would be interned alongside the Staff of Eden in Alexandria, and the Trident would be broken up with Seleucus and Ptolemy, each taking a prong and creating their own empire, with the third going back to Macedonia. Following the Battle of the Nile in 47 BC, the leader of the Order of Ancients, Flavius Metellus, would take the staff from Alexander's tomb and would travel to Siwa with Lucius Septimius. These two members of the Order of Ancients would combine Alexander's staff with an Apple of Eden to access an Isu vault hidden beneath the temple in Siwa. After seeing a holographic mechanism, Flavius would take the apple to Cyrene, and Septimius would take the staff with him to Rome. On March 15th, 44 BC, Amunet of the Hidden Ones would confront Septimius at the theater of Pompeii, where she would defeat him. And before moving on to kill Julius Caesar, Septimius would tell Amunet that the staff had already been given to other members of the Order of Ancients within Rome. What these members would do to the staff is unknown, as it has not been seen since. This brings us to the last known Staff of Eden, the Staff of Hermes Trismegistus. Sometime during the Isu era, the Isu Aletheia was able to replicate her consciousness into the staff, much like Consus was able to do with the prototype of the Shroud of Eden. Her reason for doing so is to be able to have the ability to interact and help the staff's wielder master its power. Sometime in the 6th century BC, Hermes would meet with Pythagoras and his protege, Kairos of Xarnax, in a remote desert. Here, Hermes would decide that Pythagoras was a worthy successor, granting him the staff. Eventually, Pythagoras would part ways with Kairos and found the cult of Hermes and used the staff as their emblem. This group, though, would split, with one faction forming the cult of Cosmos and Pythagoras trying to stop them, though he would go and study more about the staff in the Isu. During his studies, Pythagoras would link the Isu to the Minoan civilization, and due to an extended lifespan granted to him by the staff, he would eventually meet a woman by the name of Myrine, whom was the daughter of the king of Sparta, Leonidas. The two would have a daughter together named Cassandra, but Pythagoras' obsession with knowledge about the Isu would cause him to leave and eventually discover an Isu vault beneath Atlantis. He would spend years in this vault trying to find a way to seal off the Isu city, but sometime between 429 BC and 422 BC, Cassandra would go searching for Pythagoras, only knowing that she was searching for her father. When she ended up facing him, Pythagoras would know who she was, though it is unclear whether it was the staff that told him or if it was Icaros, Cassandra's golden eagle, whom Pythagoras had sent to watch over her. On their first meeting, Pythagoras would convince Cassandra that they needed to seal Atlantis and keep its knowledge hidden. This led Cassandra on a mission to recover the 4 Atlantean artifacts. Once she returned to the gates of Atlantis with the artifacts, Pythagoras would start to have second thoughts about losing the knowledge of Atlantis, but Cassandra would convince him to not only see it through, but to pass the staff on to her. When he gave her the staff, Pythagoras would pass away, and Cassandra would seal the city with the staff. Shortly after sealing Atlantis, Aletheia would communicate with Cassandra through the staff, informing her that she was now the keeper, the one who keeps the Great Seal closed and the staff safe, and that her end goal is to deliver Aletheia and the staff to the Heir of Memories. Cassandra would go on a journey to find 3 symbols in ancient tombs that would allow the heir to access the Great Seal of Atlantis. After finding these seals, Aletheia would call Cassandra back to Atlantis so she could teach her what it truly meant to be the keeper. Cassandra would open the Great Seal with her own blood and would find that it was once a grand throne room. Aletheia would inform her that Pythagoras didn't know it existed, as he selfishly used the staff for knowledge, and that Cassandra would endure lifetimes until the heir takes the burden of the staff. And the only way to carry the staff's weight is to find the strength to do so. And to do that, she would have to relive simulations that Aletheia created for her to find that strength. Cassandra would then go through simulations of Elysium, the underworld, and Atlantis itself. And after learning to control the staff, Cassandra would also learn that the simulations were from the memories of Isu. Some of them were even Aletheia's, and were meant to show her how ruling with extreme order or extreme chaos were doomed to fail, and that there was no path to power for her as the keeper. She was also informed that the staff has the ability to bring the world to its knees, but that it was not her role. Her role was to restrain the power of the staff and to guard it. Cassandra would go on to hold the staff until 2018, when she would pass it along to the Heir of Memories, Layla Hassan. During this moment, Cassandra would tell Layla that the Templars and Assassins represent order and chaos, and that if either side won, it would result in the world's doom, and that Layla was the one who would bring balance. Layla would return to the Animus to relive Cassandra's memories to find the seals that would unlock the Great Seal of Atlantis. After finding the seals, Aletheia would warn Layla that an interloper seeks to stop her, but Layla would continue her search, this time reliving the memories of Cassandra's brother Alexios and his murder of Phidias, realizing that he knew the meaning of the symbols that opened the Great Seal. Layla would lose contact with the Altair II, the ship that contained her team, as it was attacked by Sigma Team and forced to go dark. Layla would unlock the Great Seal using the password that she gleaned from Phidias. She would be joined by her friend Dr. Victoria Bebo, who was worried about Layla's well-being. Layla would then relive Cassandra's memories of the simulations that Aletheia had created so that she could master the staff and not fall to its influence and corruption. While reliving these memories, Layla would become increasingly aggressive, which would cause Victoria to pull her out of the Animus, saying that the bleeding effect was beginning to affect her. Layla would then accidentally use the staff to kill Victoria, leading Aletheia to proclaim that Layla was not the true heir of memories, and that she needed time to reflect. Layla argued this, blaming the staff for her actions. Aletheia would remind her that she alone dictates who is the heir. This would leave Layla to leave and reflect on her actions. Layla would return to finish the trials, though Aletheia was reluctant. After these memories, Aletheia would pull Layla out of the Animus, revealing to her that the interloper was there. This turned out to be Juhani Atzo Berg, and after trying to negotiate with Berg, a battle would happen that would see Layla not only defeat Berg, but to impale him in the back with the staff, seemingly paralyzing him. After the battle with Berg, Layla would call the Altair II, informing her team what had happened and requesting a pickup from the vault. There are a few other staff carriers that are mentioned, though we don't know specifically which staffs they held. The glyphs within Assassin's Creed 2, for instance, stated that the prophet Moses, the Egyptian pharaoh Shabbatka, and John the Baptist all controlled staffs of Eden. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if the staff that Moses and John the Baptist carried turned out to be the papal staff, and that the one that Shabbatka had turned out to be Alexander's staff, based solely on how easy it would be to draw a line to each of those staffs. There was also a statue of Durga, shown in Assassin's Creed Brahmin, that depicted her with a staff that closely resembled the imperial scepter. I've always liked the idea behind the Staffs of Eden. They ended up being great ways to explain the fall of a dynasty, or how a single person could keep control over such a large number of people. Seeing the papal staff in Assassin's Creed 2 being used in conjunction with an apple of Eden to open a vault was a nice touch as well. I will say, though, I am concerned about the staff of Hermes Trismegistus. It was the first to be shown to give long life to a human, though it is unclear how much Isu DNA is required to use it, as Cassandra is known to have a high percentage and used her blood to open the Great Seal of Atlantis, but Layla needed to speak a password to enter. Maybe the higher your percentage, the more resilient you are against the staff's effects, And when you add in Layla's time in the Animus and the possible bleeding effect, it could be causing her to be affected more than most. The way the fate of Atlantis closed, there's no way that the staff is excluded from the next game. But with it comes a lot of questions. What is its purpose? Why is it important that Layla has it? Can she really control it? What is Alethea's endgame? So many questions come from just that one DLC that I'm hopeful that we get more time in the modern day during the next go-around. Thank you for joining me today. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast, and if you have any questions about Assassin's Creed or topics that you'd like me to cover, please feel free to hit me up on Twitter at visions_AC, a link to which will be in the description to this podcast. Till the next time, my assassin friends, make sure to follow the Creed, and to those Templars listening, may the Father of Understanding guide you.